Hello and welcome back to Lesson 3 in our unit of the Elements of Art. If you missed our previous videos, you can go back and watch them because they actually lead into this video. We are covering the Elements of Art for our Art 1 class. So we've already covered line, we covered shape, and now we're going to be covering value. So value is how light or dark a color is. Very simple. It's kind of like if you ever went into a paint shop or you went into Lowe's or something like that and you looked at paint swatches and they have all these different colors and it's going from a light color to a dark color. That is called a value scale, and every color in there is a value. For instance, this right here is a lighter value of brown and it goes all the way down to the darker value of brown right there. And you can have these in all different colors. You can be in different shapes. I mean, it's just values. It's how light or dark a color is. And this right here is an example of something that we are going to be doing today for this lesson. So why is value important? We will get more into this later in the next lesson whenever we cover form, but value is important because it can give the artist the ability to create three-dimensional looking forms or shapes on a flat surface. And that is called a form, which again is something that we're going to get into next time. But as you can see right here with the sphere, the lighter value right here is where the light is hitting it, and then all of this area down here is in shadow, which means that it's going to be darker. So it gives the illusion that there's a shadow, and it makes it look like it's in 3D or right in front of you. That is why value is important. So let me explain what the 4 different types of shading is that you can do to create values. Now we are only going to be covering 3 of these in this class, and I will explain why in a minute. But the first step, or the first way that you can create value, is with a method which is right up here, and it's called a stumping or shading. And how you do that: you take a normal wooden pencil, or just any kind of pencil in general, and you want to hold it in a specific way. The idea behind this is you want to hold your pencil so the point of the pencil, or the pencil lead itself, is resting down on the edge of your paper, like so. Having it like that will give you more surface area and allow you to shade better. Not only that, but having the pencil off to the side decreases the amount of pressure that you put on the tip. And why this is important is if you've ever done homework and you were writing on a table or a paper like this, and you were just writing like you normally would, and you picked up your paper, you would actually see whatever you wrote indented on the table below. And that's because you are putting a lot of pressure right up here on the tip of your pencil. Basically, you are engraving the paper, and that's embedding into the table. And that's not something you want to do if you are an artist. So the correct way to hold your pencil while you're shading is like this, where you have your pinky, your middle finger, and your ring finger wrapped around the pencil like that. You have your pointer finger near the tip of the pencil, and you have your thumb resting on the side. Whenever you shade, you want to go around in circles like this to create a circular motion, and that will give you a darker value. So how you create this value scale right up here is you can either start with the lighter value or the darker value. It doesn't matter, but hold your pencil correctly. And then what you want to do is you want to go around in small circles, putting pressure down. And the tighter the circles you make and the harder you push down, the darker the value. So you'll get black just right up there like that by pushing down on your pencil, going around in circles. Now, once you have your darker value, you can move on over to your gray value right there. And to do that, you just widen out your circle. Don't put as much pressure, and just go around in circles again. And then you keep on going, lightening up and not applying pressure, loosening up the circles until you get all the way down to white, and white is white. That is how you do shading. The next one that we're going to be covering is right here, and this is called hatching. Hatching was made because For artists who are using pens or markers, you can't really create different values like you can with pencils just by applying different pressure. Instead, with a pen, it is the same color ink all the time. So how do you create different values? With hatching, it's a simple diagonal line, just like that. And all you have to do is you just make a diagonal line going one way, and the more diagonal lines you make, and you make them closer together, the darker the value is. For instance, this right here. This is extremely dark because those lines are really close together. If you want to lighten it up, like through here, you just space the lines further apart until you get all the way down to the white and there's just no lines there. That is hatching. Diagonal lines, and they just go together. Okay, the next is cross-hatching. Cross-hatching is exactly the same as hatching, except for every line you go diagonally one way, you make another line going diagonally the opposite way. So it's kind of like you're crisscrossing, kind of like this. So what you're going to be doing, you're crisscrossing lines. The closer together they are, obviously the darker they are, just like this right here. And the further apart they are, the lighter they get. So that's hatching and cross-hatching. Now, the one that we did not cover is stippling. And stippling is close to a lesson that I teach in Art 2, which is pointillism, but it's not quite the same. Stippling, the reason why I don't teach that is because you are literally taking your pencil and you're making a dot. And then you're moving over and you're making a dot. And then you're moving over and you're making a dot. And the longer you do this, eventually you're going to get to the point where you just grab a whole handful of pencils and you go and you start jabbing the pencils everywhere. It's not good. Okay, you will break your pencils, you will hurt people around you. You don't want to do that. So it gets very aggravating, and I just don't teach it because there's so many other ways of completing exactly the same thing, and it looks better, in my opinion, to do the other options as opposed to stippling. So we just don't teach that in my class. However, I did want to show it to you because that is one of the 4 methods of shading. So these are some examples. We have some cross-hatching up at the top, and then we have some stippling down at the bottom. Just so you can get a good reference on what you could do with the 4 different methods. This right here is shading using a pencil. Then you have hatching and cross-hatching using chalk. And finally, you have an option of stippling again, which, as you can tell by the amount of dots going on in here, it takes a lot of time. That's, again, why we don't do it. So let me go ahead and explain what your lesson is for today. Now, this is different than the other lessons we've had. This is a simple one-day lesson, and all you are going to do, you are going to be making your very own value scale. So let me show you what it looks like. Let me bring it up on the screen right here. Drag it over. Okay, so this is the value scale that you're going to be making. And the first thing that you want to do, we're going to cross out stippling. You're not going to use that. I'm going to be cutting to another video where I'm going to show you exactly how you can create all of this using a pencil. And that's going to be your goal. You're going to be shading, you're going to be hatching, and you're going to be cross-hatching, going from light to dark or dark to light. It doesn't matter. The link for this printout is going to be in the description down below. If you like this video, please let me know. Leave a comment down below. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I'm going to cut straight to the live demonstration right after this. So if you enjoyed this video, you'd like to see more, you'd like to continue the lessons, hit the subscribe button. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll go ahead and show you the demo. The correct way to hold your pencil is actually like this right here, where you have your pinky, your ring finger, and your middle finger wrapped around the shaft of the pencil, and your pointer finger resting against your pencil right as it evens down into your pencil lead. Your thumb is rested right on the side of your pencil like this, and the idea behind it is whenever you put your pencil down, you are not putting the tip of your pencil down, you're just putting the side of your pencil down. This is, yes, technically the correct way to hold your pencil, but to be perfectly honest, it doesn't matter how you hold your pencil as long as the pencil lead is on its side on the paper. I always hold my pencil like this because this is far more comfortable for me, does not put my hand into a cramp, and on top of that, it achieves the exact same result. So, how do you create your shading scale? First off, as I said, we're not doing stippling. You can just go ahead and cross that out. So what we're going to do, we're going to start up here, and I always like to start dark and work my way light. The reason why is because if you start over here and you work your way this way or this way, your hand is going to be resting on top of the things that you worked on. And that is going to create pencil lead that's going to smear all over the place. So I always like to start dark and work my way light. So the first thing you want to do, hold your pencil on its edge, and you want to start by applying pressure in small circles as it goes around and around. See that? That's pretty dark. So the next one over, you want to widen your circle out a little bit and widen your circle and loosen up on the amount of pressure that you are putting down. As you can see, we are getting lighter as we go down. You are now creating a value scale. So you keep doing that. Keep getting lighter. Don't push down as hard on your paper. Bigger circles. And you are eventually going to get to the point where the very last square on this paper is completely white. And there we have a shading scale, or a value scale, going from the darkest shade all the way to the lightest shade. Hatching is right here. And I'm going to start the same way. You start with lines. And with this one, it is typically done with a pen. You can actually draw this like you do whenever you're writing. This one's fine to do that with. It's this up here that is not, because this is typically made with very straight lines. If you want to hold it down to the side like this and do that, that's perfectly fine. You can. There is nothing wrong with that. But hatching is just lines going diagonally. That's it. The closer they are, the darker they get, or the darker they are. The further apart they get, the lighter they get. So as you can see, lines close together, it's a dark value. All the way down here, 2 lines and no lines. So what about cross-hatching? Cross-hatching is exactly the same as hatching, with the exception of every time you make a line going this way, you make another line going that way. So what I like to do, I like to start one direction, go down like that, come back up, go the other direction, and now you have a cross-hatching value. So, next one, exactly the same thing as we did before. We're just going to space out our lines further apart. And as you see, it is getting lighter and lighter. And there we have it. Cross-hatching, going from a dark value down to a light value. Hatching, going from a dark value down to a light value. And shading and stippling, going from a dark value down to a light value. I hope this helped you, and I hope to see you again with our next tutorial on the elements of art